You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Intelligence After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Intelligence After Show.
Yo, what up? Oh no, there's the
there
music.
it is. Oh yeah.
Everything is better when you have a friend here at AFTERBUZZ TV to tune into episode number 8.
That was so horrible.
Delta Force. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Ryan Hooks. Joining me on the panel today, as always, the very devilish Miss Yael Tygiel.
Hello, everyone.
Looking good. And the bearded, the lovely, the hatted, even, Mr. Gonsalvez.
What's up? I have a tree on my shirt. What?
Yes, tree on his shirt and all. And in the booth, dropping the bass on us today, Roy Tahari.
Hello, everybody.
Did you just give yourself a clap as well?
No,
Sound
that was
effect?
Yael. I think Yael claps for me.
I did
Sound
not.
effect.
But I
Hearing
can't give
things.
myself a
Special thanks to the Lego Movie for providing today's soundtrack.
That was awesome.
Can we get it one more time?
No.
No.
There it is.
So it's a remix now.
So this is
What's
totally
going on?
unrelated to this episode of AFTERBUZZ TV's Intelligence, episode 8, Delta Force.
Delta Force.
However, I feel like there's a connection there that could be made.
Yeah.
Please tell me.
The connection is everything is good, because at the end of this episode, everything is good.
Is it?
I mean, no, but listen, I'm stretching.
No. I mean, no.
I'm trying. Give me a little credit.
I was about to ask you if you even watched this episode.
Well, I mean, the person that we thought was a bad guy wasn't. I mean, if that's what you're getting to, yeah.
Well, see, here's the thing. The Bachelor was on 2 episodes this week, and I got maybe distracted. And no, I'm just kidding. I totally watched this week's
I
episode
was
of
going to say,
Intelligence.
that's
I
sad.
was so amused.
So, what did you guys think this week? So, last week we had an episode that I thought was pretty good, really good actually.
Yeah.
So we followed it up with this week's Delta Force episode, and we learned a little bit about Vaughn's backstory, if you will. A little bit, not a whole lot, but enough to know the kind of person that he is.
Which we already knew and were very sure of.
Correct.
Okay. So we just like reconfirmed that he's a good guy.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was why he was chosen for this project.
And then he's a soldier
and he's a
all that
soldier.
kind of stuff.
However, they did show him doing things in this episode where he wasn't using his chip. Because if you recall, he cut the satellite feed when he was chasing down Lieutenant Norris, rather.
Because it wasn't fair.
Because it wasn't fair.
It wasn't fair.
And that's what he said. It wasn't fair. So,
Okay.
I'm saying. But I don't want to talk about Agent Norris yet.
All right.
I don't want to talk about him late either.
Later? You don't?
I mean, I meant to say, I didn't want to talk about him now either. Sorry.
Yeah.
That was
we'll
good.
talk about him later.
Okay.
Right now, I want to talk about Agent Jameson.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, Agent
Let's talk about
Jameson
him.
finally
Stepping up.
getting his moment. I mean, I was telling them earlier, I was a little disappointed that this week's episode lacked Nelson. Because I do love when some PJs in my life.
But it did have Jameson.
But it did have Jameson. The episode started off after they were in Bolivia, showing their scene about the political leaders and these military guys are getting killed. They're at the gun range.
That was so awesome.
You know, Riley's out popping a few shots off. Vaughn shoots off and misses. And then Jameson just comes in. Pop, pop, pop. The whole thing falls.
Right.
Just spot on.
I think, do you think that they were just like really, like, do you think that they were really surprised or do you think they were aware of what he's able to do?
I think they were really surprised.
they were really
because
surprised.
He's never left the...
Because he made the comment about firing off a memo.
Yeah.
Right.
He's like, he just fired off a memo at that gun range.
And then they were surprised. They did say that, you know, oh, what are you doing here? Like he's like, you know, never been in that area or something like that.
when they took him to Bolivia.
Exactly.
Which surprised me. So he's got this amazing shot. He's a great guy. He's great with a gun. And then what happens?
He gets shot.
He gets shot right away. He misses, and he like is out for the rest of the episode until the end.
But he does have that moment at the end, though.
And,
Yeah.
We should
and
get
he
into-
punches him at the end, too.
Right.
Like, now we're
Right,
even.
right.
Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Sorry.
I know.
I apologize.
No,
It's
it's good. It's my
It's
fault.
Yael's
No,
fault.
it's my fault.
It's Yael's
I
fault.
need-
Both of your faults.
It's
It's
my
just
fault.
not mine.
It's never Yael's fault. It's never the woman's fault. It's always the man's fault, as we have learned from 8 episodes of Intelligence.
Yes, correct. and that is why.
That Riley is always right. That Yael is always right.
Yep.
That Roya in the
Roya
booth is always right.
right.
All right, so this episode basically revolves around a conflict that's happening in Bolivia. And there's been some conflict on who's going to be the next leader of the country. The United States has put some backing behind a Javier Leon to be the next political leader, basically because he's willing to help them. There's a huge deposit of lithium, which America needs. Obviously, without our cell phone batteries, what are we going to do in life? Any kind of battery, really, but more importantly about our cell phones.
Cell phones, yeah, for sure.
So people are getting killed, though. Other people that are basically in the race. They're not sure who's doing it, but they think they have an idea, and they want to send in Vaughn and Riley to basically clean up the situation. This is where we meet Lieutenant John Norris. I like Lieutenant John Norris.
Oh,
Matt Gerard.
I love him.
I mean, he's in G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in SWAT. And most importantly, he plays a very, very similar role in Avatar.
He's so kick-ass.
That's his, I think it's his character role. Right?
I mean, he's a great at what that character does.
A little bit,
most definitely.
Kind of evil-sided soldier that kind of doesn't play by the rules.
Little loose cannon action jumping off.
The one thing this episode was missing was him shirtless.
You know, I think this episode missed everyone shirtless.
Also.
I mean, you're watching the wrong show. No, but it's cool because we learn a little bit when they identify him as the killer. They see him in 3 different videotapes, and they're trying to figure out who he is. And Vaughn's like, I know who he is. We're friends.
Right.
We're best friends.
I think that was the best was when they were like, oh, did the chip tell you?
Did the chip tell you? And he's like, no.
Didn't need the chip.
That's my best
So that was
friend.
like twice
Yeah,
that he didn't
a couple
use the
times
chip.
this week he didn't use the chip to figure things out.
Exactly.
He does later use it in a very comical way when he meets Javier and his family.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, you played football for, this little Mexico team.
Right.
He's like, you follow that third level Mexico football? And he's like, yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure.
Everybody does.
Yeah, who
Right.
doesn't? But no, so we're getting this little bit of backstory because they flash back to Afghanistan, 2006, and they're basically the two of them together. I kind of wonder what the situation was that they're supposed to be in because if there's only 2 of them, so it seems a little bit odd.
Yeah, where did everybody else go?
Well, okay, so I've been in the military, and you do have a thing called a battle buddy. So there are times that you could be together with your battle buddy. You're never by yourself, supposedly.
Right, especially
Why are
Delta
you
Force.
laughing? Why are
No,
you
I'm
laughing?
just
You got
so
the-
excited. I'm so excited to get, because when I ask a question like that, there's never someone to answer.
answer, yeah.
So I'm very
And
excited.
then boom, dropping military knowledge.
Right.
Here's them.
Hey, that's what I do sometimes.
Done. Go.
Thank you.
But yeah, so it's very possible that they could be by themselves, but as long as they're together, and it makes sense for the show too, because like they were best friends, and your battle buddy ends up being like one of your good friends because you literally, are on the line for each other.
Yeah, brothers in arms.
Yeah, so I could totally see that happening. It wasn't far fetched to me at all.
Okay, great.
And I wasn't saying it was
You're
far-fetched at all.
welcome.
I just was confused maybe like what the situation was when they were in Afghanistan. I guess not that it's really even relevant to the whole plot of this episode, but like it would have been nice to get a little bit about what he was maybe doing there.
Right.
Because, later we do see that they end up at this house and Norris has these hostages and Vaughn's against it, and there's some soldiers looking for them. So like were they on a mission that went awry and now are in hiding and trying to get away? Or do they have a pickup zone? Do they have an objective, if you will?
Well, I mean, their positions in the military are definitely, you can tell they're infantry people. So infantry people are the ones on the front lines that are actually to go out, they use the weapons, this, that, and the other. So
But he's a lieutenant also.
Right.
So-
A lieutenant can be in infantry. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be like lower class or sergeants or whatever. But the thing is, I think it was customary. Like you said, I don't think it mattered for the plot, but it just mattered to show them basically how they got to the point where they are, where they're not friends anymore, because that's basically, they're in dissension.
Right.
So that needed to happen, and I thought it was great, how they played that out.
Minus the fact that Vaughn needed a haircut to be in the military. Raggedy dude like that, he'd get
Yeah.
get his head cut on a tripwire or something like that.
It can't be perfect.
That's all right. No worries.
all good.
But it's okay. So they keep flashing back to these scenes throughout the episode, and we're getting a little bit more and more backstory, and then the correlation between Norris and Vaughn and what they went through when they were in Afghanistan, so why they're such good friends, or what happened and how they kind of fell apart. We also then end up meeting Agent Kogan.
Yes.
He's a CIA undercover. He's their only undercover agent in Bolivia.
Right.
And they are going to go see him, and they want to basically find out what he knows, and maybe if they can use him to find Norris, because they think Norris is this bad guy who's been killing, and he's killed 3 people essentially. And they get there, get inside, And, it's funny because Riley has the moment where she's like, I don't like this. Something seems off. I don't like where my only way in is my only way out.
Right.
And he's like, no, it's cool. It's CIA. Because, look, there's a camera on there waving at the camera.
Right.
And uses his chip there and checks it out. They get inside and they find that Kogan is dead. So we never even get to meet him. We just see pictures of him and see him on the floor.
Yeah.
Speaking of never getting to meet someone, I'm going to totally change the subject right now.
Uh-oh.
I want to go ahead and apologize for the excitement of last week's ending episode because we did not see our friend Mr. Octavius Johnson this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that
I cried inside my heart.
I did. Well, I was expecting him, and I was like, "Oh, where's he at? Where's he at?" I thought he had a big part in this, whatever. Well, that leads me to believe about a conversation that we previously had, where we talked about the episodes being out of order. Because when an episode was billed, and I thought it was a later episode, and you thought it was a different episode than what it was.
Yeah.
So I wonder how many of these episodes were filmed in a different order that they're being presented to us.
Well, I think it just goes to show that we're really smart and very intelligent. No pun intended. Well, actually, pun intended.
Yeah, always pun intended.
Always pun intended. But I think that they had to rearrange because of the flow of the show. We were talking about this earlier and how things were going and how they were setting things up. And I think they really needed to do something to kind of get it into a mode to where they can build an audience. And I think that this is the way they went. So therefore, that being said, sometimes you may take shows out of order to do that. And I think they definitely 100% did that with this. And Octavius is a perfect example. He was probably like, this is number 8, but they decided to, rotate it in a different order.
Right. Show it later. What do you think?
I think it is definitely out of order. We can see that especially with the Riley Vaughn relationship. She's nagging him this entire episode like a girlfriend. Like, oh, why don't you tell me what's going on? Talk to me.
So do you think this is a later episode then that could have been filmed in like 10, 11, 12, 13 range where that they've progressed more in a relationship?
I definitely.
And I do an Almost Human podcast, and they aired that out of order. And one thing that I thought after they aired the episodes out of order, and then I saw them all, is that didn't need to be aired out of order. Like, seeing it, had I seen it in the other order, I think it still would have made sense to me as a viewer and as a fan. So sometimes I wonder if that's the best move.
I think it is not the best move. I think there's a reason things have an order.
Right. They're written in a certain way. So does that mean that we're going to see something later down the road where it's going to be a backtracking of the Riley Vaughn relationship development?
Maybe it's going to be something that explains how they got closer.
Maybe.
Could be.
Because I think
And they're saving
we're
it.
missing it.
Yeah.
But then it's also interesting, too, because you kind of see the characters jump around. Like, we saw your boy, who wasn't in this episode.
TJ, we miss you. Nelson Cassidy.
Right. So you saw him. So a lot of times when episodes build, then you'll see those characters more, intact, and you'll see them more often in the episode because they're building that character.
Yeah.
But you saw him, and it was a great time because, what happened, and then all of a sudden you don't see him at all. So
it's possible that
Agent Jameson as well, mate.
Jameson got his episode this week. Last week was all about the doc,
Right.
And before that, the one with the outbreak had Nelson.
Yeah.
So maybe we're trying to learn about the side characters.
And Agent Jameson has been in and out periodically in pretty much every episode. He's been in episodes where he hasn't said anything, but they'll show him periodically at Cyber Command or doing things in the office. And so, we wonder if this is his big moment, but then are they going to shift back to where he's not doing stuff again? Is he going to drop into obscurity? Which makes me wonder about if they're airing these episodes that were filmed earlier, does that affect the relationship that we develop with these secondary characters? Because obviously we see Vaughn and Riley every week.
Right.
But, to me, a show that is really great is when you have an ensemble cast that has these secondary character storylines that you want to know more about and you want to follow them and you want to like them. Like I said, I like Nelson. There's no secret that I like Nelson.
no secret
whatsoever.
Wait, do you like Nelson?
You know what? I do. I do like Nelson. There's no secret. And so, things where we've developed, there's episodes where he has a big part, and then they drop him off, he disappears. It makes you like, oh man, I wish he'd come back. And then you kind of forget what's going on in the main part of the episode because you're looking for these other people.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's almost like once you've started including them, you need to include them all the time.
Well, I think they're trying to introduce us to all of them more, and that's why they rearranged the order. That's my guesstimate.
I mean, I agree, and that's usually the reason that they do these things. And somebody who gets paid a lot more money than I do is making these decisions.
Right.
A lot more money than I do because I don't get paid to be here. So, but that's cool. Let's go back to what we were talking about way before I got totally sidetracked.
Yeah.
We've got Agent Kogan dead on the floor.
Done.
I don't know how there was a correlation between that at all.
Yeah, it wasn't. But
There was
it a
something
good
in
try.
my mind
There
that
was a
made
good try though.
sense.
It was A for effort.
It was that we didn't get to see Octavius.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's how we got.
But there was another reason, and it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's
okay.
What matters is Agent Kogan is dead, and we don't know what the heck is going on. They get inside, and they find him dead. They're looking around the room. Something doesn't feel right. Just then, Vaughn sets off a tripwire.
That tripwire. I'm sorry.
That laser tripwire.
Yeah, sure. They had so much time to
Talking about it.
Hey, I think you tripped something. I think a bomb's gonna go off. We should get out of here. Then they slowly start to leave. Then as they're on the stairs, I'm like, why hasn't it blown up yet?
And then
it blows up.
I like though that when the bomb went off, my favorite part of that was they were running and Riley was only like a step ahead of Vaughn, but Vaughn like jumps and gets like blown past her.
Right.
Just like projectile off the stairs.
And she didn't jump.
And she didn't jump, but she just kind of fell.
Yeah.
But I like the Vaughn flying thing. That was really kind of entertaining to me. But it's fine, because the reason that they got distracted getting out of the house and the reason they had so much time is because they saw Norris standing outside.
Right.
So they feel like he is to blame for this explosion.
Well, going back to what we were saying earlier about the bomb, I think it had to happen that way because later on they said, oh, that wasn't meant to kill us.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? So if it was a bomb that was meant to kill somebody, they would have been dead. So I think that was to explain why it took so long. You know, they were able to get away or what have you.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'm glad they got away, because if not, the show would have ended, and then where would we be?
Right.
This would be our last episode of Intelligence Recap.
Right.
Ergo, we are still here for another week. Yes.
Just like Vaughn and Riley.
Oh, just like Vaughn and Riley. Ooh, nice. That was cute.
Thanks.
That was a little moment. That was cute.
Thanks, guys.
No, it's fine. And then as Norris is running away, they're like, oh, man, he got away, because he's checking all the cameras. But he's like, don't worry, I got his cell phone. And then he's like, Riley asks, can you track his cell phone? He goes, no, he uses this old historic flip phone. Who uses flip phones anymore? My dad. I could never GPS track my dad because he's got a flip phone. And they're in Bolivia with one satellite tower.
Yeah.
Darn it.
So they get like, well, let's call him. I think it's funny. They're like, we should just call him. That'd be cool. And then she's like, no, you can't call him. Can you call him? And it was like, the idea of calling somebody, to me, it's like such a far-fetched thing. Like, the last thing you would do to somebody to contact them in our society is call them.
Well, it just transfers into real life.
It's totally real life.
In
That's
real
why I was
life,
laughing.
who calls people now? You got so much with text, email, Facebook, and Twitter. I mean, it's like so many ways to come, you know, and everybody's so busy. You don't have time to sit and have a conversation. I had somebody tell me, like, honestly, you have to text me or email me because I don't have the time to talk to you.
I won't answer you, right?
Yeah. And so I think that's real life. And I think
I
that's
make
totally real
calls
life.
all the time.
Yeah.
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 Well, I'm pro calls. Pro calls. I'm just saying.
Pro call all day long.
I'm pro calls, but I'm just saying that someone told me, but I think it's customary for a lot of what goes on in our world.
Get it.
It's like, man, I sent them a text message, they didn't answer. So I sent them an email. Oh, they didn't answer. I sent them a message on Twitter. Oh, and then I Instagrammed them.
Right.
And then, you know, I got on Facebook and left them a message on Facebook. And then, you know, I sent them a Vine video in case they missed me. And
Yeah, I know, Ryan. That's why I changed my number.
And then Husay. And then the very last thing I actually thought to do was call them.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I will at Yael Tygiel you all day long.
But no, yeah, that's a great point.
And that's a great commentary.
It's a great
they were
point.
like so weirded out about making a phone call.
Call him?
Yeah.
So they called him, and he answers.
Yeah, he did.
And he's like, hey, where are you going? And he was like freaking out because he thought he was right behind him. He like, kind of ducked into an alley. And
right.
It was cool because I feel like that would be what you do if you were being chased and the person that's supposed to be chasing you is calling you. Because, you know, who has his number in Bolivia?
Right.
And then he calls him and, you know, says he wants... What are you
Roy is calling me
Answer it.
for the booth.
Answer it.
I love it.
We'll get that weird feedback if you answer the phone.
I'm ignoring that call.
That's hilarious.
You can call me.
See, you're just like all of other America, ignoring.
Ignore.
No,
and then you're going to text her while we're talking.
No,
Sorry, I can't talk right now.
You don't ignore, because if you ignore, they know you ignored it. You let it ring to voicemail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
You just hit the volume button so the sound stops.
Done.
And then it goes to voicemail like, oh, I'm at work. I can't answer the phone.
Right.
Sorry, guys.
Right.
Sorry, I was in the studio. So
Anyway.
if you want to call us, call the studio line. I don't know the number, but somebody.
Roy, what's the number?
I don't think
She doesn't know either.
She doesn't know.
Yeah, right. What is this, AOL?
We're cyber rendering.
It's supposed to be crickets, but I guess not.
Yeah, I was like, is that
right.
That was my modem in AOL in 2004.
Right. What is that called?
Guys.
What is that's a term for that?
The modem connecting?
Yeah. What is? But there's a.
I think it's called a TV show called Intelligence, which you guys
Yeah,
are on.
guys, this has turned into a FUBAR cluster bang.
That was the very next thing I was going to say.
Oh.
The best quote of
Fallujah.
Oh man, a FUBAR.
Fallujah happened, and it was a FUBAR cluster bang.
which is the greatest thing ever said on this show.
Of all the lines.
Yeah.
We should tweet that. Hashtag FUBAR cluster bang.
Yes.
FUBAR.
Obviously.
Effed up beyond recognition. If you have never seen Saving Private Ryan.
Right. Cluster bang.
It's German, though.
Huh.
Did you know that?
No.
I did not.
You've never heard FUBAR?
I seen. I'm gonna plead the fifth.
Oh.
Yeah.
FUBAR is a military term that stands for effed up beyond recognition.
Not, well, F. but
Right, I'm
F.
sorry. I'm not going to use the F word on the air. So the F is a vulgar term that I cannot say.
Right, which is why they went with cluster bang, because it's actually cluster F.
Yes.
Right.
We'll take the FUBAR cluster
I've
bang.
heard the second term, but I haven't heard the first term.
Yes. Well, anyway, this is a FUBAR cluster bang beyond recognition, if you will, because Norris has escaped, and now he doesn't want to meet them, even though they called him, and he destroyed the phone, so they have no more contact with him.
Of course.
But it's okay, because we're going to head back to the safe house with Jameson, and he's going to do some damage. So no, we get Javier Leon, and they're going to get him and say, hey, listen, we're going to protect you because these people are getting killed. We're going to take you, and we're going to take your wife. We're going to take you to this military safe house, and you're going to be fine. It's all good. In between that, we learn a more flashback episode-ish things happen where Norris comes back to get Vaughn, pulls him out of the weeds, says, hey, we're going to need that one bullet that I gave you earlier, because he only had 5 bullets left, and he gave him one in case he needed to kill himself, so he wouldn't get tortured. And he takes him to this house. And in the house, he's like, hey, I thought you said nobody was home. And he's like, no, it's cool, it's cool. In the house, there's a mom and a daughter that are tied up. And Vaughn needs to rest, so he doesn't argue about it. But what are you smiling about?
Nothing.
I feel like you're excited about something that happened and you want to say it.
Nope, not yet.
Not yet? We're not there yet?
Nope.
Okay. So, no, it's cool because we're getting a little bit of this backstory. And, throughout the episode, they talk about why Norris and Vaughn have fallen apart. And this is the start, I think, of when they're falling apart in this episode.
Exactly.
Because he's done these things, these atrocities, if you will, against these civilians who are innocent and who have no involvement. But he's willing to do those things. And that's where Vaughn maybe draws the line on things he's not willing to do. So...
And he said that in the episode. He said, how did you guys fall apart? And he's like, because it was something about I was his conscience, and he didn't want to.
He didn't want a conscience.
Exactly.
He didn't want somebody to tell him the things he can and can't do.
Right.
But also, Norris makes a really good point at the end of the episode. He's like, when did you become a contract killer? He's like, I'm a soldier. I have always been given a target, given a mission, and that's what I do. That's the way that he looks at it. It is not that he's doing something that's wrong or right in his conscience. He's doing what he's being told. So, there's a fine line in that where, even back in Nazi Germany, where people were saying, hey, I was just given these orders to kill these people. I didn't want to do it, but they ordered it, and,
right.
Is that an argument or is it not? Now you have something to say now.
Yeah, of course I have something to say. You just compared Lieutenant Norris to Nazis.
I'm comparing the situation where a soldier makes the argument that he's doing these things because he's been ordered to do them. So if Norris is killing these people because they're his orders, and that's the only reason he's doing it, does that make it wrong? Is he exempt from
Like he's justifying
judgment?
it.
Yeah.
Well, so that is similar to what Lillian says to Vaughn in this episode. She tells him, tells Vaughn, like, you're not supposed to be trying to talk him down. You're supposed to kill him.
Yeah, push a button and kill him.
I push a button and you kill a man. I have that written down. That was the quote I was trying to get to.
I could see you thinking about something that was coming up. I knew it was there. I could see in your face.
And so that is a very interesting. It was a very interesting discussion that this episode awakened, I guess, in that Vaughn he is an asset of theirs, and he's not sure if he's wanting to do. She says, "I push a button, you kill a man." Or if he's still a human who can make his own decisions.
Well, this is also tied into, as we saw in this particular backstory, about how he, because basically he was trying to off these people, and he stopped him. You know,
Right.
and I don't want to jump in.
No,
'cause
go.
You were there, but that's how he stopped him, and that's what ended up, you know, dividing their friendship. But Vaughn has always had a conscience.
Right.
He never has wanted to, in cold blood, do that, and I think that's part of the reason why he's been able to last so long in the situation. He hasn't gone rogue yet. I mean, you know.
Right.
Predictions haven't happened yet, but he hasn't gone rogue. He hasn't, you know, been the type of person that, you know, I'm just going to go crazy. He's been able to do that with the help, of course, of his lovely, you know, sidekick, if you
Riley,
will.
right.
Right, exactly. But I think the thing is, he hasn't, you know, because of his conscience, you know, it's like almost like they picked the right person,
Right.
like specifically for that purpose.
And they've said that. He said last week, we picked you. You were the right choice for this assignment.
Right.
Well, it's actually really interesting that we talked about how the episodes might be out of order, but this whole discussion of is he the right person, does he still have a conscience, totally relates back to last week's episode where he was called Frankenstein's monster, and I am a monster, and I'm not a human, and whatever. It was just, they may be out of order, but I want to say that those two were out of order, moved together.
And that happens. Sometimes it's like 2 and 3 episodes get clustered together. They are cluster banged, if you will,
Yeah.
together, and they'll move them in unison. So they run it, you know, 1, 2, 3.
Makes sense.
So it does. It makes perfect sense.
Right.
You know what else makes perfect sense?
What is that?
Going on to iTunes.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does. Because it's that time of the day again where we like to tell you about the lovely thing that we call the iTunes. Where you can go on the iTunes and you can talk about our show. You can rate our show, give us a 5-star rating if you will, because we'd love that. Leave a comment for us because we love when you comment at us. You can send us Twitter messages because we want to hear what you guys think about our show, the things we have to say, and also about intelligence. That's the best way to get a hold of us. Can you think of a better way?
Than iTunes?
Yeah.
There are other ways, but iTunes is a great way to get a
Yes,
hold of us.
that's not what I was looking for.
I didn't know what you were looking
Yes,
for.
iTunes is the best way for you to get a hold of us and give us a 5-star rating.
You could call us.
You could call us on the number that we don't have. But no, iTunes, we appreciate them putting all of our information out. 67 shows that we do, if not more, because there's more shows starting all the time. There's a bunch of new shows coming out here in this spring season, so look for those on AfterBuzz. 100 countries, get at us. You know, 25 million subscribers on YouTube.
Holla at your boy.
Just do it. Follow us on YouTube. Follow Yael on YouTube.
Call Yael on her cell phone.
Call Yael on her cell phone.
Yeah, if I'm
that's
not
all.
in the booth, I will answer.
Right. Check.
No, it's cool. That's all. That's all I had to say, and that's what's awesome, and that's what you should do.
Excellent.
Now, back to the show. So far,
Yes.
that was really excited. I'm sorry.
It's like,
So
what the
I'm
fuck?
so excited. What are you going to say?
Nothing of major importance now.
Well, you're a foobar cluster bang.
So in this episode, we saw minimal interaction between Riley and Vaughn. We have our standard intro. We will later talk about our standard outro that we've been having. And we only really had a couple different times throughout this episode they're together because they were split apart. One of the times that they were together in this episode,
Well, they were. Wait, hold on.
I'm sorry,
They were together
I know.
half, like 2/3 of the episode. They only got split up, if I recall, and help me out if I'm wrong.
coming up soon.
Yeah. So I
getting
mean,
there.
that's kind of 2/3 though.
That's
But
what
I'm
he's
getting
doing.
there. That's where
where he's
I'm
going.
prefacing, if
but
you
you
will.
said like.
Yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing. Let him
Okay,
do it. Just
okay,
go.
all
Go
right.
ahead.
No, I know what I'm doing. Thank you very much.
Okay.
It's called foreshadowing.
Okay, foreshadow.
Okay.
I'll foreshadow, all right. So in the episode, they figure out that Norris knows the location because they think about things that he knows. And this is where they have still thought that he killed Kogan. And they're like, oh no, he must have figured out where the safe house is because that's why he was there. So they rush over to the safe house, but it's too late because Kogan is dead and Norris is already there. He shows up, and I love the part where he shows up because he's looking at all these old 84 cameras that they find in the basement of the safe house.
Yes.
Like, yeah, the technology is a little bit outdated, but
Right.
it's cool, it still works. And he, instead of going in and attacking, he stands out in the yard, lets them know he's there, and then goes away. And then he's like, oh no, don't go out there because they know he'll kill them. And then Javier Leon comes in, he's like, oh, I sent my men to handle it. And then he kills all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
All the men get killed of Javier Leon. So they're locked up in the safe house. He's in there trying to shoot him, trying to figure out what's going on. This is when Jameson gets shot.
Jameson, who we showed you had a great shot, is a great
You know what?
marksman, misses and gets shot.
It was dark, first off.
Okay.
There was a pressure situation, second of all. Third of all, it's easy to shoot a target that's standing still. When someone's moving, it's
He
a
was
lot
standing
harder.
still.
He missed
I know.
He's not perfect.
under pressure.
Okay.
Under pressure.
Ding, 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 ding.
Can we get to the minefield?
Wait, before we get to the minefield,
No.
I had a couple of points I wanted to bring
Go.
up. Okay, so first, the leader's wife. Okay, remember when they're in the room together?
Marcella.
Thank you. And he has the gun. You know how to use this, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, of course."
Yeah, oh, yeah,
macho man.
who
I got
doesn't?
this? I got this. But then when they, leave out the room, he's there. Jameson leaves the room. They're there together. She's like, "Give me this. I was the one that was in the military."
Yeah.
Now at that point, did you think that something was up with her?
I knew something was up with her. At that point, I thought she was going to shoot him.
Okay.
Right then?
Yeah.
You thought she was going to shoot him right then.
Yeah.
So you thought that she might have been dirty then.
Oh, I believed way before that she was dirty.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
at that point, I thought she was going to shoot him and frame
The brother-in-law.
Norris, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, frame Norris.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought
Okay.
she was going to deal with it and frame Norris.
Okay. So I was just curious about that because I thought that was significant when she said that.
Oh, yeah.
For me. The other thing is, and this is one thing, and I even actually rewound thanks to the magic of DVR.
Hell yeah.
That when Riley and Vaughn got the call, or it wasn't the call, it was when they figured out that Norris was going over to the safe
house.
house.
The safe house.
You know where the safe house was. He called Jameson and said, "Hey, he's gonna come. He's coming there." And so it was dark, right? So, and then that's when all the men go out. They all get killed.
And Jameson said he's already here.
right,
Yeah.
right. It was dark as well, right?
I know exactly where we're going with
You
this.
know where I'm going?
Yep, I sure do.
Okay, so then you continuation.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, so
Where is this going?
they show up to the safe house.
Right.
Jameson's been shot. Vaughn says, I'm going after him. Riley, you got to stay here.
Right.
You got to get pressure on the wound. He's going to die if you leave. So he
Yes.
leaves, and then it's daytime.
Yes.
But no, they did show that because they show him run out, and then they show this shot of the mountains, and they show the clouds drift from dark to light.
Did
and
they?
it was like a time lapse.
There was a time lapse.
Are you? But
I
okay.
rewound it too because I thought the same thing. I was like, when did it become daytime?
Right.
How long were they there?
Exactly.
What happened? So no, I totally saw the same thing. And
Okay.
it time lapsed from nighttime to daytime because he'd been chasing him all night. Is what they're basically.
So what they were saying is that they were chasing for a long time.
I mean, if it was 4 a.m. when they got there, and then it was 7 a.m. when they started.
So it was hours of
It
chasing.
could have been a little bit of time. Yeah.
But that's where the time lapse happened. Because that's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, how did this happen?
and
Did
it was
you
like
catch that?
Yeah.
direct daylight. It wasn't like dawn-ish. It was
Exactly.
like it's mid-afternoon.
Exactly.
So, but when they're chasing each other, they find him, and Norris runs into a minefield.
Yay, the minefield.
The minefield.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun. Because this is the part that Yael's been waiting for the entire episode.
This was the greatest scene ever.
You think so?
Of all the episodes?
No, of this scene.
Of this episode.
Tell me
Okay.
why.
Of this scene, in fact. This was the greatest scene of the scene. Was Vaughn saying to his friend, look, I want to figure out what's happening here. I know we've had a falling out. I don't want you to blow up. I'm going to navigate you out of this. And it was amazing. It was us seeing the chip do something great and very cool. And I loved, because minefields are terrifying.
Okay.
So him navigating his friend and the trust that they had
And
with
luckily,
each
Bolivia
other.
keeps good records
Right. Right. Exactly.
Also,
that he memorized the map.
well, he
Yeah.
also had he said there was a heat something. There was
Heat
something.
signature.
Yeah.
There was
sure.
a few things that.
Well,
aided
they
him.
had moved the satellite into position,
Right.
Because when he was chasing him, Lillian comes on the horn and says, "Hey, we've got the satellite in position. You can use it to
Right.
track him, whatever." And he goes, "No, I don't want that. That's cheating." Cuts the signal feed. So we know it's there, and he probably pulled it back
Right.
up.
So he uses all these different things that the chip has given him to see the minefield, to save his friend's life, and they talk about it as they're doing it.
And he makes a grid so he knows how far to. It's like 2 steps
Right.
and 1 step to your left.
Right.
It was just so beautifully
You like
done,
that?
and I was so happy.
I do like though in that scene when they're like talking about it, he's like, "Listen, you want me to help you or not?" Because then he shoots the gun and
Yeah.
shoots that one
Right.
mine and it goes
Right.
off.
The only thing that I had an issue with, and this is, of course,
Was it that Matt Gerald didn't have his shirt off?
no.
Oh.
That was the issue I had too.
Yeah.
Right.
Go on,
yeah.
then. What issue did you
What was
have?
your
I feel
issue?
like that should have been my issue.
Yeah.
Peer pressure here. But no, my issue was when he said, okay, let me have, your gun. And he's like, oh, do you think you're going to, shoot me? And after all, you're helping me? And he's like, yeah, I think so.
And he puts it just behind his shirt?
Just behind his shirt. And I'm like, oh my God. It's like
Like
the oldest trick in the
throw-
book. Like, you don't think he's going to just, as soon as he's out of the weeds,
Pull it out?
He's
Yeah.
a soldier. He can do that in 2 milliseconds.
I thought the same thing. I was like, why didn't he have him throw you
Right,
the gun?
exactly. So that was my only issue with that because I was like, but
Right.
it kind of set up for the next scene, and
Right.
he hits him, and then all that happens.
Yeah, because
and-
once he gets him out of the minefield, he
Right.
punches him.
Right.
And he's down on the ground. And this is the pinnacle flashback scene, though. So it maybe jarred something loose.
Right.
They needed the moment where
Jarred something loose. It's in his brain.
He got smacked
chip
around
or whatever.
The chip got jarred around.
Sure.
No, and this is the final flashback scene where they're in the cabin and there's a patrol coming and the woman's kind of screaming, the kid's kind of crying, and Norris basically pulls out his knife to silence them, and Vaughn stops him. You know, and because Vaughn stops him, the woman gets up and talks to the patrol and basically tells them there's nothing there but the sick daughter and them, and they go away, and that's how they survive this, because they would have been killed or tortured.
And we're going to ignore the fact that they would have not. The patrol would not have just believed this woman.
Oh, they would have checked it all.
Yeah,
right.
We're going to ignore that.
That's fine.
Yeah,
no worries. But no, it's cool too, because in the scenes here, we get the turning point of the episode. This is the moment that throws the loop, because we find out that Norris is a Red Ops CIA agent undercover who had been working for Kogan the whole time. He didn't really kill Kogan. He went there to get more information. And the only reason he did kill the 3 people, but that wasn't his fault. That was his orders.
His orders to do so.
Based on the information that they got from the DNI over at Titsu. Agent Jeff. I just want to call him Agent Jeff because I can't keep getting Titsu out, man. That throws me off every time. And this is a cool, too, little bit with him and Lillian, because when Lillian makes those comments to Vaughn earlier, talking about, I push a button, you kill somebody, and he says, we could maybe be friends. Like, the way you're acting right now, we could be friends.
Like that.
Yeah, like that powerful moment that Lillian has where, you know, she's demanding something, and that's what he liked.
Well, that was, I think, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is 8 episodes in, regardless if they're out of order or not, but that was the first time he kind of agreed with her.
Yeah.
I mean, that they had some kind of commonality.
Right.
Because it seemed like every time they're together, they're always against each other all the time.
And it reminds me of that quote from a few episodes ago that, you know, what's scary is when one agent is more powerful.
Right.
Is it Lillian or Vaughn?
It's both.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's definitely a cliffhanger to find out.
Yeah.
But Lillian also says that she doesn't trust him. She doesn't trust Itsu. And, which is good because that's going to keep them at odds. They're not going to be friends if they don't trust each other. So they will potentially not ever work together in a fashion where he's going to call the shots and she's going to act them out.
Right.
Which is good because that gives us the tension between the departments, and, you know, it's Lillian always asserting her power, as she does every time that she's in a situation where it's, no, this is what I say goes, and this is what we're doing. Whether it's right or not, this is what's best for us, and this is what we're doing. Which is good, too, because that's back to the Vaughn thing and Vaughn's character that we keep seeing, because he stopped Norris from killing this family. And, you know, we've seen him act on things, whether they're the right choice or not. It's what his conscience tells him is morally right. So he's morally doing things where it could get him killed. It couldn't maybe not be the best thing for the agency, but he's going to do it anyway. And that's why the DNI and stuff have issues with him, because he doesn't always follow the orders, but he still does what's best.
And speaking of that, there was a quote that Lillian said about, you know, when he kind of jumped on and he was not disrespectful, but he was just like, all right, guy, you know, or girls or whatever he called them. And she said, you get used to it, sort of. So, I mean, that just kind of plays in what you were saying about, like, he's a little rogue at times, but it's like he doesn't fit the entire mold. He kind of does what he does, but it's always ends up right.
Right.
It always ends up good.
Because he's doing things based on a moral judgment.
Exactly.
Not based on what's best for the situation.
Exactly.
Which is good. That's what we like to see. We like to see these moral dilemmas, and that's what challenges him as a person and as a character. And then we see the growth from it.
Right.
So we've seen the growth, because now him and Norris are friends again. They made up, they hugged, and they ran to save the day. Because they know the reason that...
They literally ran, too.
They literally did run
to
try to keep up. After they've been running for hours, now they're just going to run back in an hour, no big deal.
Right.
I mean, maybe they were zigzagging around. But we find out that Marcella's target isn't really her husband, and it isn't really the American people. It's the Undersecretary Jim Sutters, who's coming to meet with Leon to talk about his potential position and, you know, how he's going to help the American government.
Right.
You know, when we see her sitting in front of a mirror and we see her a little bit distressed, and she's like, no, you know, how often do you get to meet the Undersecretary? And I'm really excited, and, you know, blah, 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 I need to be ready. And she arms her lipstick.
Yeah, she does.
I thought it was a gun, actually, at first. When they
Did you?
Well, I was like, is this a bomb? Is this a gun? What is it, a laser? I mean, what are we doing here?
It was a little confusing.
It was looking, because she like charged it up.
Right.
Yeah.
But her lipstick was actually a bomb. When the Undersecretary gets there, just in time, Norris runs around the corner. Riley sees him, gun, gets shot, shoots him. The bomb goes off.
And she throws
But she throws the bomb first
first
and saves the day. And then she goes to grab the lipstick, And Jameson shows up, injury and all, and shoots her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love the part throughout the episodes where the wife has been talking to her husband, you know, and she's talking about laying in bed with America and having this
my
sexual
God.
relationship with America. And
That her quote.
I'd rather die with my feet in the air than lie in bed with my legs open.
Yeah, it was so graphic and a wonderful metaphor altogether. It was just really well written and done.
So you liked it?
I did.
It was a good.
okay.
It was a good correlation between other countries in America and
Right.
like you know the way we're viewed as a country.
Yeah.
You know, and it was good. She's believing in her cause and her country's power so much more than what he would do just to you know. And they even talked about Caesar and
Cleopatra.
that's the one before Cleopatra and how she
Cleopatra.
had to seduce Caesar to get power, and she made an ally. So there was a lot of cool little things that happened with that.
Yeah.
But it's fine because the episode ends with everyone becoming friends again, right? Well, until Jameson punches him in the face.
Right.
Now we're even.
And I said it with him. I mean, that was kind of predictable.
That was
Yeah.
predictable.
That was
Now we're
predictable.
even.
I did say it with him. so-
Riley and Norris meet.
Right.
Everything's wrapped up into a tight little bow.
Yes.
Not quite, but enough that life is in a good way.
Oh, intelligent.
Oh, intelligence. What are we going to do with you?
Intelligence.
But the show had to end on our usual lovely side note where Riley and Vaughn are hanging out in the kitchen.
Banter.
And she makes a comment and he says, you know what, Norris, I'm glad we're friends again because there was nobody better. But she says, you know what, there is somebody better, and leaves.
That was a good line.
That was a good little
I did like that line.
Yeah.
Did you like that line?
Yeah, okay.
That was their moment of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't impress me as
It
much
didn't
as the
impress you
I'd
as-
rather die with my legs in the air than.
Oh,
She
but
was
I'm
still
talking
caught up
about
on that.
between them, though. I thought that was a good line between them.
Yes, it was a great line between them.
Between them. I
Yes.
like the way, because I feel like it's moving in a direction that, would like to see, what we all want is
Yeah.
to see, them develop into something more than just partners.
Right.
So before we wrap it up and go into predictions, I have one comment that I want to make going back to the assassination attempt.
Yes.
Where were the security guards? The entire time, they showed there was 3 of them at the end, but they didn't do anything. They didn't shoot anybody. They didn't help anybody. They hid. Way to go, Team USA security.
Did they? Well, did any of them get blown
No,
up?
no, none of them got shot. None of them got
No,
blown up.
nobody got blown up. The bomb
Riley
was
shot
so
Norris.
weak.
Jameson shot the
it was a
wife.
lipstick.
The bomb got thrown by Riley. So it was
Right.
really only Norris, Riley, and Jameson that were involved in that little, scuff, if you will. Nobody else was really there. And
Well, I mean, as we've seen in plenty of movies with like Secret Service or whatever, they dive on the person.
they weren't even diving on the people, though.
Yeah, but they dive on the person that they're protecting.
Because Riley pushes him out of the way.
Right, and they then dove.
Well, I didn't see it. Anyway, it
didn't
doesn't
see it.
matter. Because I want to go to that little thing we like to call predictions.
Diction.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So we saw in the preview that this next episode is going to be back at home base in the U.S. Cyber Command, and we see some malfunction in the chip. Is this the episode that we've been talking about that we need in our life, where something happens that he has to overcome?
I hope so.
We hope so. So
hope so.
I want to know, Yael,
All right.
what do you think is going to happen next time?
From what I saw in the preview, someone hacks into the computer system of Cyber Command, and his chip goes haywire, and then he has amnesia and doesn't remember who they are or what's happening, and he has to start over or whatever.
Is it our friend Octavius Johnson?
Hopefully.
Maybe.
That would be awesome because he said that he was a really smart character.
Maybe.
Yeah, I tried to look to see if he was.
It didn't show the episode number that he was on. I IMDb'd
right.
it
But
also.
I tried to look to see if he was in the previews.
I didn't see
That
it.
would be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But my feelings are Gabriel's going to have amnesia for the most of the episode, and then right at the last minute, he's going to remember.
Riley.
Riley kisses him, and he remembers.
Ooh, that's a bold prediction.
Yeah.
Lem, what do you think?
Interesting. I don't know about the kissing part.
Whatever.
But I will. But I'm kind of with you. I think that in this episode, because Vaughn is going to be, when we see what happens.
Yeah.
I think she's going to play a major role in him coming back to where he's supposed to be. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't believe it's going to be a kiss, but I do think that whatever happens will bring them to that next level that we want to get to.
Well, do you remember a couple weeks ago? There was an episode where he was in that weird zone and Mei Chin was there and she just punched him. That was how she brought him
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
So maybe she'll just punch him back into
Yeah,
life.
maybe.
Punch, kiss, same thing.
Punch, kiss, it's
Right.
about the same thing, getting hit in the face with something. Anyway, that does it for our episode of Intelligence here on AfterBuzz TV, episode 8. Delta Force.
Delta Force.
We will see you next week, but not until you tell us where we can find you. Yael, go ahead.
The people can find me online at yael.tv. That's YAEL.tv. And on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL.
And yeah, you can find me at The Poet Saint on Instagram and Twitter all day, every day.
All day, every day. And as always, you can find me at RyanHooks92 on the Twitter, on the Facebook, on the Yahoo, on the Instagram. I'm there all the time. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We will catch you next week. Intelligence Episode 9.
Yeah.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.